Hi, within this lecture, we're going to cover MAC addresses and IP addresses once more. We're going to refresh our knowledge. So I believe you know what you get if you type ifconfig in your terminal. So you get these properties, the MAC addresses and IP addresses about your interfaces, right? So I have my ETH0 in here and I have the local IP of 10.02.15. So I have other information here as well. I have this ether. So this is my MAC address. So this is 080027A1, something like that. And what are these numbers actually? We have seen that before. We covered this in the beginning of this course, but it's been a long time and maybe you skipped some lectures or maybe you don't even remember what they were, so I'm going to cover it one more time. So how does this networking thing work in practice? So we have these devices in our home like phones and MacBooks or computers, and we have a router which connects us to the internet by sending requests and getting some responses like we do when we ping the google.com. Okay, it sends a ping request to the google.com and it writes out the response to us. And router actually takes care of this problem for us and sends packets to the internet and gets some responses, and it forwards this information to the related devices. And what we have here is a public IP. A router has this public IP, and this is what we use to connect to the internet. And remember, we mustn't share this public IP with anyone, because they can launch some attacks, they can launch some Nmap scans through our public IP, they can just try to do some denial of service attacks, okay? And every device on this router connected to this router or modem have this public IP, okay? They have all the same public IP, because router has actually this public IP and connects to the internet using that IP, and this is assigned by our service provider. But also we have some local IPs like this one, okay? 192.168.010.011.012, and generally the router has 01 and assigns some other 010, 011, 012 values to the other devices that are in network. Okay, so we actually have these local IPs in NAT network as well. We have starting with 10 because we are in NAT network, not a real network. So if we are connected through the NAT network, we have like 10.02.15, 10.02.12, 10.02.20. So it has the same principle. Router just assigns these local IP addresses to us, and it assigns 10.02.1 to itself. Our host machine acts like a router in this case and has the 10.02.1. So we have a MAC address on top of everything. This is used within network connections, and we will understand it better when we deal with ARP responses and requests in the following lectures. But why do we want to even change this MAC address? So for some reasons, bad hackers or good hackers like ethical and non-ethical hackers may want to change this MAC address. So if you remember, even our ETH0, our fake connected cable, has its own MAC address in here, right? So every interface like a wireless card or a wired connection has its own MAC address, and they are assigned by manufacturers. They are hardware numbers, and they are basically stable and constant. So if I connect a Wi-Fi card in my machine and took it out and connect it to another machine, it won't change. Okay, it will stay the same. So people can tag me, people can follow me using that MAC address. So maybe I want to be anonymous. So maybe I want to change my MAC address in order to be anonymous inside the network, like using VPN when I go to the internet to change my public IP. So this is one reason, and we have other reasons, like we have still these networks that are authorizing the devices regarding their MAC addresses. So they have rules like you can connect to me if you have this MAC address. So I can change my MAC address to that specific address and be connected to that network. So bad hackers actually use that technique. So at any point, we can change our MAC address, and we have seen how to do that manually before, right? So we can use something called MAC changer. But this time, we will write our own MAC changer in order to achieve these results. So let me stop here, and within the next lecture we're going to discuss this manually changing the MAC address thing.